Alt F4. Welcome to this week of Delve Requisite, brought to you by the first probably 15 minutes being a little low energy until I drink this cup of coffee, and then we'll even it out. And then brought to you by me not sleeping for the rest of the night tonight because decisions had to be made, and it was either be sleepy for all of this stream or suffer, and I'll choose suffering every time. Anyway, what I was saying, hang on, before I get sidetracked, let's thank our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle, for sponsoring this episode and all episodes. Nope. It's
that's why it's blurred out.
Which is so funny.
That's why it's
Discord
over here.
knows.
I would also
Discord knows.
$99.99 per episode. You too can unblur this.
This week on Del Requisite, brought to you by generic roast beef food restaurant.
I also
Certainly
need to point
not,
out.
not R or B.
I also need to point out that one of the wheels on my chair is broken and it keeps popping off. I had to put it back on before stream. The second Matt went live, I don't know if anybody else saw, but it literally went, and I went slightly sideways because he went, "I'm going to go live," and the wheel popped off my chair. So now I'm slightly lopsided.
I have a question for the group. Is Arby's called Arby's because like it's roast beef?
Yes.
Yes.
Huh. I thought it was a guy named Arby.
No.
Please don't judge me. I have
No,
37
listen.
or 30 years
Listen.
old.
Don't judge me after that.
I'm Reginald R.B., and this is my restaurant.
Wait a minute. So he's RRBs?
Yeah.
Look, it's presented as a person's name.
No, listen, I'm not gonna let everybody dunk on you. In solidarity, I also did not realize until right now that it was roast beef.
It's roast beef's the store.
I'm Jebediah R.B.
Alright, from now on.
I did not learn that until like 2 years ago. So it's not like it's something I immediately realized.
I'm exclusively calling it roast beefs.
We broke that. I'm sorry. Anyway, sponsor us, please.
Anyway, you were saying, sir?
Oh, I don't know. Roast beefs kind of messed me up.
Well, we've got the right.
That needs to be a
energy, at
sports
least.
team. I want them to sponsor a team and be like
Oh God, hang
the
on.
Tampa roast beefs.
I have to dab my eyes like a Victorian lady.
Oh,
Thank
he's
God,
been
eh?
overcome.
Hey,
You
remember how like 10 minutes before stream, Brittany was like, "If you guys are gonna launch into a bunch of Arby's bullshit, I'm gonna leave."
What was the discussion you actually wanted to have?
Oh, we were talking about what I was actually gonna say. We were talking about stream countdown stuff, and I was gonna say, do you guys remember the chaos that was the era of when we were doing live plays, and the countdown had like our live room audio?
Mhm.
Oh God, yes.
Oh yeah.
And I had to be like, so you guys got two warnings. You got the warning of like, I'm going to go live, and then the I'm really going to go live. Because we had like 5 minutes of just like table chatter before the. I sort of like that. I think that's a good. As we wind into the twilight hours of our campaign here, I kind of wish I had brought that back. Maybe I'll set that up for next week.
I say you still can.
Most of the things that get said
Always
before
an
this podcast, no human beings should hear.
It really is. There's a key component as to whether or not the pre-stream chatter is safe for the internet or not.
Is it a bearded component?
It is a bearded component.
It is Curtis.
The component is if Curtis is here. We
get an NC-17
The chat is
rating.
not safe for human consumption, much like the sandwiches at roast beefs. All right, I didn't even get all the way through Little Dragon Corp, Cardboard Castle. Jesus, we're still in the ad reads. Sponsors of this week's episode, ! Little Dragon, ! CCG for links to those fine sponsors. Please check them out. Okay, Brittany, you can come back from your self-imposed exile. I promise. I promise we won't talk about Arby's anymore. Oh, she's actually gone. All right, well,
She also had Arby's.
it's been fun, you guys, but we We roasted the beef too hard, and Brittany has abandoned us. She'll come back eventually, I assume. Let's hit a recap. Oh, there she is. Let's hit a recap before we.
I saw Adam flailing, and I assumed that meant it was.
Oh, you muted and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, Brittany, you can come back, and I was like, oh no, we really did it this time, boys. We chased her away.
I had it on my phone, and I was just kind of watching the actions as I went.
Right as Matt said that, I had pulled up the Arby's wiki.
Oh, good God.
Well, okay.
Anybody want to take a guess as what year Arby's started?
I get
1997. I feel like it's way too modern for what
no.
it is.
I get like 1971 vibes from Arby's. If this man says like
83.
1934, I'm gonna lose
1910.
my mind.
No, Arby's was founded in Boardman, Ohio on July 23rd, 1964 by the Brothers Forrest
Okay.
and Leroy Raffle. Leroy Raffle is my new one-shot character name.
Not a
Anyway.
Brahmsona? That feels like a Brahmsona.
Oh, the initials R stand for Raffle Brothers, although often mistaken for roast beef.
Oh, well. In my heart, it's not. It's
They're wrong.
not roast beefs.
Yeah, but they're wrong. Somebody edit this wiki.
Thank you for the
just do
sandwiches.
it.
We'll take it from here.
Much like the Uno rules.
He's an
Okay.
Italian-American boy. His name is Giuseppe Stromboli.
last week, the crew of the Fool's Errant and some of the remaining crew of the Grimm's Folly were undertaking a takeover of the island of Glazow, which had been under Ignean control for the past several months, as part of a Brotherhood ploy to find other alternatives for Star Spires. Currently, you guys have enacted a plan to retake the island from the Igneans, drive them out of the abandoned manor house that sits on the top of this rise, where you know that the mysterious Willow resides, having access to some kind of entrance to a underground something that exists below this island, and being very positive that a chamber or a space that Willow refers to as the sending chamber is another Star Spire. So you are trying to get the Igneans out of here, get Willow to bring you to the bowels of Glazow's underground network, and get you access to this sending chamber so that you might finally pursue Artanis and his generals to the primordial fortress of Glower, where you will face off with your nemesis once and for all. The crew of the Grimm's Folly captured an Ignean warship in the harbor and destroyed 2 others. When we left off, they were finishing off the soldiers on the remaining vessel, and the captured one was being reserved later for Una to take over. Phyxis and Murderbeard decided to stay behind and deal with the soldiers on the ships. But Phyxis, invoking a spell of draconic bloodline ancestry of some sort, summoned a big ol' illusory emerald green dragon to carry Rowan and Una to the top of the rise, where they would meet up with the group of the rest of you guys. You all right now, through some trickery and fast talking and disguises and things of that like, managed to get the majority of the Ignean forces that were holed up in the governor's mansion to make a break for the docks, where they are presumably in the process of being ambushed by Una's resistance, hidden in the woods. You made short work of a few others, quickly teleported a few guys to your holding cell. You killed a couple of guards, and you are currently in the library on the first floor of the house. You have knocked unconscious the governor and the commander in charge of the forces of the island. And with a silence spell active, I believe Walter, disguised as the governor, just like gestured to the two, what you believe to be the two remaining guards in the estate, to like come into the library, and then you walked back inside yourself. So let's pick up like this. Rowan, you and Una flying on the back of this spectral, illusory, whatever this is, this magical creation of Phyxis's, in the form of a large winged dragon, rise high above the island and begin making your way towards the manor at the top of this rise. The dragon sort of arcs around and comes at a sort of a counterclockwise angle, following the slope of the land. So you, as you ride by, can make me a perception check, please.
Okay. I don't know why D&D Beyond is now not loading, but okay, I had you up. That's cool. I'll just roll. I feel like, well, that's an 18 on the dice, and there it goes. You said a perception?
Perception, yes.
19 total then.
Ooh, okay, with a 19, you are able to kind of look over the side of this spectral reptilian creature that you are flying on. You're holding onto like a spike on its neck for support. But as you look over the side, you see about midway up or down, I guess, depending on your perspective, midway along this path that leads from the main part of the island up to this manor, you see the tail end of a fight between Una's resistance and the Ignean soldiers that were like rushing down here. You see several Igneans either dead or subdued, sort of like scattered along the road, where Una's fighters like jumped out and ambushed them. You see there are like a couple still on their feet. And as you fly over and you're looking down, you see the sight of this massive spectral dragon creature like kind of causes the fight on the ground to like stop for a second as everybody looks up. And you see as Una's resistance fighters sort of like recover first. And you see Rutabaga jumps out with a maul. And like the Ignean who's like distracted as he looks up, Rutabaga just like cracks him over the head, and he's like goes down bonelessly. And then you whoosh past and leave that scene behind.
You just hear Rowan screaming, "Yes, Rutabagas!" into the distance.
Back at the manor, Walter, you walk back into the room.
Alar
was disguised. Alar, you walk back into the library. What are Brahm and Walter and Oz doing?
I had pointed out like two.
Okay, so what do you guys like? You have like 5 seconds. What do you guys want to do in that moment? Oz still has like the like totally knocked unconscious form of the guard captain, just like in one arm from where he was like punching him repeatedly. So he's like holding that guy. He's just gonna like stand there and do nothing unless you guys tell him, like gesture him to do something.
That's probably fine. just want to get in position for violence as we like mouth that to each other since we're in a silence spell. Shovel is ready.
Sure, if yeah, two of you want to get on either sides of the door.
Oh, this comes apart. That's clever.
Unless Rom has another idea.
No.
Okay, then yeah, either side of the door, and just
So you guys move to either side of the door. Osrius like kind of looks, and then he just sort of like he puts his hands like under the unconscious guy's like armpits, and just like kind of holds him like this, like he's ready to like swing the unconscious guy like a like a bludgeon. And so you guys get in position. As Alar, did you close the door behind you when you came back into the study, or did you just sort of like walk through it? Okay.
yeah,
so you
I
closed
walked
the door.
through it. So that should seal the silent spell inside, since there's now a barrier.
Okay.
Once the door opens, they'll realize the
Sure.
effect will carry
Okay.
out.
So here's what happens. You guys all see the like handle on the door turns, and the door begins to open, and it opens, maybe like a quarter of an inch, and then all of you see from the windows outside, the sky is like briefly illuminated by this like daylight bright emerald green like flash, and the door like stops opening.
I look outside the window.
Walter's gonna keep an eye on the door to see if anybody's like. Can I see through the opening in the door?
You can go take a peek.
I'm gonna go take a peek.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a peek.
I believe with the door cracked, does your silent spell extend back into the...
It should, yeah.
Okay. Alright, so here's I think what happens. Okay. So, Alar, you're looking out the window. Walter, you're looking out the crack in the door. Rowan, you have just been like deposited on the ground outside. So, Rowan, from your perspective, the front door to the house opens, and you see an Ignian soldier standing there, and like a look of puzzlement comes over his face in like a split second, and he opens his mouth, and you realize, and as he seems to realize, no like sound comes out. He's like, Alar, you see Una and Rowan like drop to the ground outside. Walter, you see one of the two guys has his hand on the door that you're in front of, but is like looking like this towards the front door. And everybody seems very confused in this moment.
Okay, so if I see that he is distracted, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to drop the silence spell and Eldritch Blast this man in the face.
Okay.
Like just through the crack of the door, he's just gonna like a hand just comes out of the door, is like, and then suddenly he can hear, and then there's violence.
Okay. Roll to hit.
Do I see, because all the doors are like cracked and stuff, do I see the light that I would recognize as Walter letting off a spell?
Yeah.
Silence doesn't.
Roll your Eldritch Blast, and then I will set the scene for what you see.
Okay. So far, the lowest is an 11. So I got an 11, a 12, and a 13.
Okay. I believe
for my three beams at disadvantage at point blank.
I believe at least one of those hits. Let me just check.
11, 12, 13.
I believe the mark is 12. I'm just double checking. Oh, mark's 11. Okay, so all three of those would hit.
Hold on. Let me see if I can launch this man. Moment, please.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's... not the right number that I was looking at. 11, 12, and 13. None of those hit.
Oh, well.
So here's what you see. You see the front door open, and you see this first guy is like, and then very suddenly, two things happen simultaneously. All of a sudden, as if like earmuffs had been taken off of wherever they're standing, you hear the guy at the door all of a sudden start going like, ah, oh, I can hear again. And then you see, like, behind him, you see there's a second guy in the foyer who's, like, got a door, like, slightly cracked and is looking also in your direction. So you see that he doesn't notice it, but you do see, like, just a hand that comes out the door, and proceeds to fire, like, 3 Eldritch Blasts, that go, like, shoo, 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 past this very confused guy, smash into, like, the wood paneling on the other side, and then he goes, like, oh! And I think, I'm not gonna make this is not an initiative situation. You guys just, they're very surprised still. You guys can proceed as you'd like to proceed.
I'm going to run up to the guy outside and
Brom, you can cast spells now.
and just say no offense and swipe with Shakai.
Okay, roll the hit.
But going low and kind of keeping my body low, so hopefully Una can shoot the guy through the doors. I'm trying to like run this guy back through the door to give Una a clear shot, essentially.
Okay.
Alar is going to yell to open the door.
20.
And he drops his spell and holds his rapier at the unconscious governor's throat.
22 to hit.
22 hits.
I will try to throw the door open if this man is surprised by being almost shotgunned in the face.
Sure.
11 for the first.
Okay.
And then 18 on the second to hit.
18 also hits.
And only 8 points of damage on the next one, and I'm kind of like trying to like drive him through the door and kind of like down almost, like
Okay.
clearing the way for Una.
All right. Walter you're slamming
Throwing
the door open. Alar, you're putting the blade to the unconscious governor. What was your action?
Yeah, as soon as the door opens, I look the soldier in the eye. Weapons down. Or he dies. then you
Brom,
die.
are you doing anything?
How many of these dudes can I get in a 20-foot cube that doesn't?
There's just 2 of them.
2 people.
And, like, all of this is happening at once, right? So, like, essentially from your perspective, you're standing next to a door.
And we're all in the
which
cube
Walter,
too.
like, slams open, and the door, like, smacks this guy. So, as you, like, turn, you're, like, 1 foot from a guy who's, like, reeling back on his heels. As you see Rowan, like,
Coming in
shoulder
with the other guy.
shoulder tackling the second guy into the doorway.
Okay, so it's probably not possible to get just these dudes in the cube without any allies.
No, because Rowan is
Correct.
like on this
Attached to
other
the
guy. And I'll say this, as you go to
I'll
like
be fine.
start to make your move, you hear the footfalls of Osrius approaching behind you. So you have but a moment to make some kind of decision.
I'm gonna do this, and then
I'll be
maybe
fine.
maybe some allies have some fun. Okay, I'm going to cast Nether's Mischief.
Oh.
And I have to roll a d4, and one of 4 things happens.
You would take that spell.
I rolled a 1.
There's mischief.
It's a 2nd level spell.
Okay.
So the smell of apple pie fills the air, and each creature in the cube must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become charmed by you until the start of your next turn. Which, if these are elves, it may not be.
22. If they're immune to charm, it's a problem. But,
This is the only charm of the
I'll
4
roll
options.
I'll roll for Oz. Oz gets a 5, so he fails. He's charmed by you.
I got a 22.
Oddly enough, so is Alar.
Okay.
Even with advantage?
I like to
I've
think
rolled
that
a
this,
1 and a
like,
4 on
because
the
it's the
die.
smell of apple pie, anybody whose charm is, like, cartoon style, like following, like floating, smelling pie.
Kind of wish I failed, but I didn't.
So here's what happens. I'm gonna make a roll with Osrius. Okay. So you jump out and I don't know, what is this? What do you imagine this, like, the casting of this spell looks like? The casting of this smell looks like?
Yes.
It sort of looks like a cartoon style. Brom puts a pie on a windowsill that's floating out of nowhere.
So you jump out of the doorway and you bring your one hand up and as if like pulling the lid off of a what is that? What is this?
Pie?
Serving tray?
Yeah, but there's a word for it, right? Where it's like a dish
covered
with
serving
a
tray?
cover on it.
Giraffe.
Clutch.
That's yeah. And so you and then like an illusory like pie appears and a like puff of like purple vapor scents like extend out and a bunch of people like when Poison Ivy sends out the smells that makes everybody sexy or whatever in Batman. Everybody.
I can re-roll on my turn, so more things might happen.
Well, here's what does happen. Rowan, the guy that you jump on is absolutely dead before he hits the ground. Like you hit the ground, that guy, he's dead. You pull your sword back out. Una is behind you, lined up a crossbow bolt, but is like kind of waiting, not able to get a motion. The pie scent wafts out of the doorway. The elf is like. He resists. However, the next thing that happens is you hear Osrius go, "Move!" And you, like, step out of the way, and Osrius' full body swings the other unconscious guy into the guy in the doorway, and just, like, slams him into the ground. Doesn't kill him, but, like, knocks him silly. And then, like, the unconscious guy, after he, like, uses him like a bludgeoning weapon, he just, like, chucks him into, like, a corner of the room. And he turns to you, Brom, and he goes, "You got pie."
You got pie in your bag.
Brom, you didn't tell me that you brought pie. Come on, man. You gonna hold out on us like that?
Look, of the 4 things I could have done, this was the most useless.
Do we hear anybody else, like, causing a ruckus upstairs?
You do not. You only hear the one guy that just got hit with the other guy on the ground, like,
Then Alar's gonna walk over and just...
you finish him off, you bonk him on the head, he goes unconscious.
He's gonna look out. He's going to look over at Rowan. Oh, hi. Wait, he looks past. Oh, and he pulls out from his coat and throws to her a telescope. Borrowed that from the bar. Wasn't sure if I would need it or not. Sorry.
She catches it. She kind of looks and says, "That's all right," and she puts it away in her coat.
Hey, Una, you want these guys anywhere in particular, or just leave them where they're at?
She's like, well, that depends. Are they dead?
Some.
Medicine check?
Sure, make a medicine check.
Yeah, Walter, make the medicine check.
13.
The ones that you for sure killed earlier are dead. They've been dragged around the side of the house, I believe. The one that Rowan just killed is killed. Then the governor, the guy that Brom used as an improvised weapon, and the guy that he used the guy on are all alive but unconscious.
So, like, these 3 are good, or alive. The rest are fertilizer.
I imagine that you'll want the governor for a trial, so...
She goes, "Not particularly."
Then I leave him to your tender mercies.
You mean to dump him on a ship?
I think, I think, like, she like, pulls her crossbow back out, and, like, takes a couple steps forward, and I actually think he's not here to do this, but he and I have had some conversations. Osrius like steps between her and those guys, and he just says to her, "I get it, but the fight's already over. We should still be better than them." And she goes,
Alar starts for a second. Damn it, he's right.
he turns to you, Walter, and he just goes, "Just put them in the jail."
All right, I'll put the. All right, yeah, I'll toss all three of them into the jail realm, the prison realm.
The shadow realm.
Yeah. Alar's gonna head over to the lockbox that those two had been carrying, which I assume they set down.
They had been carrying a footlocker of some kind.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if they put it at the top of the. It would be at the top of the stairs, I believe, because
Okay.
like
Yeah,
they were at
like
the top
rushing
of the.
down at
They
that
were at the
point.
top of the stairs when you summoned them, so they dropped it at the top of the stairs.
Locked.
As you go and kind of like jiggle the lock, it doesn't appear to be. It just appears to be closed.
Okay. Still gonna check it for traps because this is where it catches the unwary.
As it turns out, there's a claymore right there in your face.
21.
21. No, you don't find anything.
Okay. Throw it open.
Catch your eye. It's filled with like an assortment of stuff. There is a bunch of like clothing. There is some assorted like personal effects. You do like as you like rummage around and your hand hits a small pouch. You hear the distinctive like clink of coin. So you do pull a purse containing 50 Ignean gold regals out of that chest. There is like a sealed thick like vellum envelope that as you like unfurl it and take a look at it, it bears the seal of the Emperor, and it seems to at quick glance be like the writ of governance of Glasgow in the Emperor's name on behalf of Governor Celes Tenariel rather. This appears to be like an assorted chest of like the governor's personal effects. You get the sense that like they were kind of hastily throwing this stuff in and like preparing to try and like just get him out of here and like evacuate him.
This was the governor's go bag. He's gonna look at the purse and then just throw it back in the bag.
Paperwork.
I'm gonna drop the governor in a different prison. There were multiple cells, I believe. So like I'm gonna drop him just so like he can't get like bodyguarded by the guys that are gonna be like waking up next to him.
Okay.
He unfurls the ciphered piece of paper. Brahm, by chance, you recognize this this cipher?
Do I?
Make a
Cipher check.
insight check. It's probably not the best roll to use for that, but good enough.
It's a 19 plus 4.
You do recognize the type of cipher this is. You'll have to pardon my lack of terminology. It is a specific type of cipher that you know correlates to a specific book or a specific passage from a book, and you need that book. That book is like the key to this cipher. You don't know what the key for this is, but you do recognize this style of cipher as a brotherhood like a Brotherhood code, though. As is their MO, like even though you know what it is and could decode it, unless you can figure out what the key is, and get that particular book or inscription or poem or whatever it might relate to, you would have no way to like quickly decode this message to see what it says.
I will explain on that.
We don't have time. I mean, even if we got...
We could bring it back to Terra Libra later. They have code breakers and...
chances are, by the time...
It won't matter.
Yeah, it won't matter one way or the other. Alright,
I
think that's...
How, actually, what was your roll, Brom?
19 plus 4.
23. 19 plus 4.
I think I'm gonna give you another piece of information though, because that was a pretty good roll, and I think even despite not being able to decode it, I think there is something that I wanna give you. Give me.
Does the governor have a sticky note on his desk with like passwords and stuff?
Or perhaps one of the books in the library is like a little out.
You can make an investigation check to that extent if you'd like.
Yeah, Walter will also attempt to
would love to do
try
that.
to just like to try to find something that sticks out too. Like,
There we go. That's
I have a
better.
question, but I'll
That's
wait
a
till they resolve their
26.
things.
I got an 18, so I'm checking the desk. Aylar's checking the library.
Okay. So I heard a 26. I heard a what?
18.
18. What was your question, Ron?
My question is, knowing what we know about the Brotherhood and about the Ignean Empire and their "we are the best empire," blah blah, do they have a specific text that they use to reference in a lot of their rhetoric? Because that is a very common cipher for a lot of groups that use ciphers. Like a lot of groups will use like a Bible or a religious code or something like that to be part of their cipher. So Rowan's just wondering if there's a similar translation to that in this world. If I would know of that book, and then I can just go look for that specific book.
I think you probably don't have enough
That's fair.
requisite information about the Brotherhood's modus operandi to make that sort of determination. You could ask Brahm.
Nah, I'll wait for you to give Brahm his other details, and I'll
Okay.
see how I feel about.
Okay, so we'll handle this over. Brahm, with your role on that, you can't determine the wording of the cipher. You recognize the handwriting, and because you've seen it before, and you think all the way back to the very beginning of this adventure, when an unnamed sort of like operative or somebody from the Brotherhood of Artanis sent you a messenger sparrow, a cardinal, with that package of documents that you were supposed to be transporting to
Right, Delker.
yes, but one step before that, you got sent to somebody first, who then gave you the dossier that you brought to Cartwright Delker. That first set of instructions that came along with a messenger sparrow, that like gave you the orders to like go see this person and get this stuff and then take it where you're told to take it and don't look at any of it. The handwriting here is reminiscent of that. You are fairly certain that whoever that person that sent you on that very first like Errant is the same person that wrote this ciphered set of orders to the governor here. That's what you get from your thing there. Walter, you were searching the desk specifically?
I was specifically looking for in the desk for like anything that could be like much in the same vein as ALR was looking for like a loose book or whatever. Like
Okay.
Walter's looking for like either books or documents, or sticky notes,
Okay.
or like a maybe like a note that's like as a like a title of a book that like maybe this person would keep
Okay,
to like
here's
try to
what I
remember.
think. Here's what I think you find. You don't find anything of like that immediately jumps out to you. There's just like some odds and ends, some papers, some other things just in the desk. You do find a piece of parchment. It seems that the governor, presumably, was prone to like doodling idly as he was like at his desk. So you see this piece of parchment that has some like a few lines written that were like seems like maybe he was using this piece of parchment to like draft out some sentences before like putting the final syntax to like a an officious letter that he was it's a few sentences where like he was trying some different grammar out or whatever. And then in some of the margins you see some idle like squiggles and some loop-de-loops and curly cues drawn, and you see in the corner a little just sort of like an idle drawing of like a little sort of a stick figure who appears to be playing a like a flute. That's what you find in the desk.
Guys, I found Corey. Just
Alar, you hunt around through the library. You do get the sense that a number of the books that are in here, like, were here before these recent Ignians moved in. They're pretty easy to, like, dismiss right away. So you're able to narrow your search down to, like, one particular bookshelf that has clearly been, like, cleaned, like, sanded and restained, refurbished a little bit, and the books on it strike you right away as like, okay, these are like the books that the governor brought here when he came here, and like this is what he had like established as his like bookshelf as they're still cleaning up the rest of this library. And there are a handful of like books that are what you would expect, books on like bylaws and ordinances and things, books of imperial doctrine and history, an autobiography by one of the previous emperors. There's a smattering of other stuff on there that you kind of look through. Your eye is drawn towards things that seems like maybe it was out of place, like thematically didn't fit. You quickly like pass over an Ignian spoof book, ironically making fun of Mythlandian river fishing books. And you like kind of look at that and you're like, no, that can't be it. And you come across a book. It catches your eye because the spine is a little bit like the very top of the spine is a little bit crimped, as if like a few extra times like a finger had sort of been like hooked into the top of it to pull it down. You pull that book out, and it is a book of all things of like children's fables and nursery rhymes.
So Walter's gonna like find that, presumably as like Alar's like finds that book, and he's gonna be like, "Hey, Brum, does a guy playing a flute ring any bells?"
And when he hears Walter say that, he starts. He looks at the the table of contents, like starts scanning the titles of the stories, like piper, flutist, something.
If he says that out loud, he's gonna be like, wasn't Brahm's mentor the Rat King?
What? Rowan's just like, what? I didn't know this. Just stands there for a moment like...
Well, not really the Rat King. He's just like...
And do any of those...
Yeah, I mean, you do come across a title that is essentially the story of the Pied Piper is in that book.
Okay, Alar sets that down. He sets the cipher note next to it. Okay, Brahm. Oh, of course, Russell's not here.
He's AFK. We'll give him
Guys,
30 seconds or
help
so
us,
to
Brahm.
return, and then
Look,
we'll,
I'm Brahm. Howdy.
I'll play Brahm for him for a moment if it becomes necessity. Chat just said it's the Ignean version of Hans Christian Andersen or Grimm's Fairy Tales. Or they did list a third one, but that one's banned from the internet. As we're not allowed to support those anymore.
Yeah,
My
the
turf.
Indians are terrible people, so it might be the third one.
Although granted,
but-
Hans Christian Andersen and Grimm's Fairy Tales also
better.
just
Not
more
better.
time has passed.
Yeah. No worries. Dogs for life. No, we
Dogs
appreciate
for life. You're allowed. We're just not allowed because we're internet personalities.
Yeah.
It's okay. I've been canceled before.
All right, he's somewhere, so we'll. Brahm comes over. He goes, yeah. Let me get a look at this shit. See what we got. Okay, and he kind of like goes to work, rummaging through the letter and the cipher, and it doesn't take him very long. It's not a particularly long letter. And when he finishes, he reads it out, and he basically tells you guys that this letter is a very short missive to the governor of this island, telling him that he is to have his subordinates conduct a thorough search of the island, including residences, including the jungles, the wilds on the island, including any like natural cave structures they find or hidden alcoves. Also to conduct like searches of subaquatic environs like in and around the island, to find an entrance to an underground complex that is believed to be beneath what is now known as the Isle of Glazow. The letter contains no information on what is supposedly down there, and it ends with instructions that like the men are not to be told what they are looking for, besides that they're looking for the entrance to such a thing, and at such a time as it is found, you are to withdraw all of your subordinates from the search, seal off the area, and send word through the appropriate channels to reach back to me. And it is signed Oberon.
And that was one of the other generals.
One of the ones that we never encountered, I believe.
Is one of the ones that you guys have not personally encountered. No.
They haven't found it yet. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here.
Yeah. So, now that we've just settled this little mini mystery, and Rowan feels better now that no other people have stormed into here, because she was kind of waiting for a rally of extra Ignians from somewhere, just in case. She's going to pull out a sending scroll and just say, "Hey, Willow. Those guys are gone. It's just me and my friends now, and Miss Una's here. Can you come out and say hi when you're ready?
A brief pause follows, and then you get a response from Willow that says, "We can take tea in the upstairs parlor."
I have missed Willow so much. That is Rowan and Brittany at the same time. And she just turns to Una and repeats the message with the same kind of inflection and smiles.
And
And
goes,
Alright.
Rowan starts patting herself down looking for a present. For Willow.
Alar is going to cast Prestidigitation on Rowan to get rid of blood.
She doesn't.
You're going to tea!
Hmm.
So he, cleans the blood off of her armor. Offers to do the same for Una.
You're all coming to tea, so clean everybody then.
Oh yeah.
Just making sure.
No,
She's-
we're gonna look
She's
spiffy.
eyeing Walter.
This is my finest traveling cloak.
So once we're all spiffed up, Rowan and Una will lead the way upstairs.
"Okay."
Anything we should know about young Miss Willow?
She'll come out when she's ready. She talks a little in circles, and I look at Una. I guess just let her talk. Don't interrupt.
Una says, "It's important that you avoid
touch
asking
her
her. Don't touch her things. Don't touch her. Be exceedingly courteous at all times, and avoid asking personal questions about her past, anything like that. I can recommend only to be as genteel as possible around her. Avoid spooking her, or there is a possibility she'll bolt into wherever it is that she hides out, and it can sometimes be difficult to get her back out."
And
Walter's
I think
immediately
both
gonna
possible.
pull a mirror and look at his face real quick, just because he's so used to having horrible cursed eyes. He's like, oh, okay, calm down a little bit.
Then, by all means, you two take the lead since you've
Met her before.
spoken with her, and we will not speak unless spoken to.
Walter's gonna
Besides,
wait downstairs.
A greeting.
No, Walter. She needs to know who's in the home. Come.
Yeah, right.
It's okay. You're not that scary, and she's seen much worse, I think, in her time. She just, again, no personal questions and no touching. Anything,
Okay.
and it will be fine. Let's go.
I can't tell if by the fluttering of the light on Russell's
If he's
camera
back.
if that means he's about to get back or not.
That
Or if
might
he
be
has
a
a fan
fan he's got
going.
going.
It might be a fan.
It's gonna be your parents coming in feather dusting. It's
Neither
Stanfield.
neither of my parents have dusted anything in their entire lives. There he is. Okay. I was gonna say I may go to a break until he gets back if not, but he's here now, so we'll resume. Okay. So Rowan and Una lead you guys up to the second floor of the estate, and down a hallway and to one of the side rooms. As you open the door, Rowan, and make your way into the room, it is a little bit different than it was the last time you were here. That mantle is in the is in the same place where there was a fireplace before. The array of things that she had set up on there is now gone, as it is clear that the Ignians came into this room and were refurbished. So it's been kind of cleaned out, and some furniture has been put in here. It was being clearly converted into like a parlor of some sort. As you walk in, you see that Willow is already in the room when you get there. And she is sort of standing in the center of the room, and her arms are kind of crossed in front of her chest. And she's sort of like chewing on one of her like fingernails pensively and like looking around the room. For those of you who have not seen her, I think I have a
not.
picture.
Nor have I. Or if I did, it's been so long.
I thought I had a picture of her on here already.
I'm looking in my notes too. I'm sure I have one. If you shared it with us, I'm sure I have it too.
I mean,
Is it
I
like
definitely
a human child, or it's a Hagen, or like
human.
Or half elvish something.
Trying to.
With the description of like all the restrictions, Walter was like fully expecting to face like a befriended creature and not like a person.
No, she very much is a kind of a slight of build, fair-haired, like slender young woman by all appearances. Little bit hard to gauge her age just from looking at her. She has these kind of like large owlish eyes, and a very like sort of simple dress that comes like to mid calf level. It is she does appear to be quite clean, though you can see like her dress is very much worn and many times repaired. As I'm rapidly scrolling through stuff to try and find where the damn picture of this girl is.
I feel like Walter will immediately like relax and like soften his expression outwardly. Like when he sees that, it's like, no, it's a child. Like I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that.
I think we're getting close. There she is. She is a half elf. I'm gonna pop her up on screen here, and then I'll send her to you guys in Discord.
The music sounds like
It's tea time music.
a playroom, like with horses. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like carousel, but not really. Like a hobby horse in a playroom.
There she's on screen, and I can send her to you guys in Discord.
I see.
There she is. So that is what you see. That is Willow. I'll put her behind myself here.
Alar probably freezes for a moment because because she does look not entirely, but at first glance she looks very much like his late sister.
Okay. As you guys come into the room, Una kind of like looks at you guys who have not met her yet and kind of like puts a finger to her lips and just goes and like watches and seems to be waiting for her to like initiate some sort of contact with you guys. And after a few moments, she turns and she looks at Una and she says, "They disturbed the room. This is... the furniture's not in the right place." And Una says, "Well, there's an awful lot of us here now, including this rather large fellow here." She like jerks a thumb at Osrius. "We could help you rearrange the room if you'd like." And Willow says, No, there's no time for that. You guys have somewhere you're supposed to be. You'll have to do." And she moves over, and she can't quite help herself. She like shifts a couple of the chairs a little bit near one of the small tables in the room, and she sits down, and from like a small little hempen bag that she has, she brings out several. She starts to bring out several like cups. There's like a very old cracked porcelain teacup. There's like a clay mug, like a tin beggar's cup. Just like an assortment of these sort of like different cups, and she sort of brings them all out and she sets them around the table. And then she brings out a glass bottle that has a very sort of like pale liquid in it. It's got a vaguely like yellowy kind of amberish color to it. And she says, she holds it up and she says, "This is dandelion tea. I made it myself because I knew that I would be having company tonight."
Willow, can we sit with you? Is that alright?
She says, "Yes, please."
Rowan lets Una pick her chair first, and then take another seat. But Rowan will set out on the table closest to Willow a couple little trinkets she's gathered along the way for Willow. Little pieces from wherever she's been, and just smiles and kind of looks at the mantle that's been removed of all of her other things and doesn't say anything, but just smiles at her and sits back and waits for tea.
Okay. So as everybody kind of like sits around the table, she like pours this like kind of is like vaguely astringent smelling into the various cups, and she sort of sets it down. And she like very primly takes her own cup and like takes a very small sip and like sets it back down on the table. And she casts her eyes across all of you guys around the table. And as her eyes sort of like pass over each of you, and briefly she like makes eye contact with each of you as she's like looking you over, you get this sort of like involuntary, almost like kind of like shudder runs through your spine, as like there's something very very intense about like meeting her gaze, and you would almost swear that like there's almost like a glow to her eyes, but when you look, you know, but no, they're just very green is all. And she says to all of you, "I was wrong. I thought you and your other friends were going to be the ones to come here in the end."
Rowan will sip her tea and looks sad. Captain and Mr. Thixus aren't that far, actually. They're down at the beach dealing with some of the men that we don't like. Stila and Nimue had to go deal with some things somewhere else, but they're okay.
I know.
I met these friends sometime after I last saw you, and I had to make a choice. And I'm glad I got to see you again, Willow, one way or the other.
Everything happens the way that it's gonna happen. And all of your threads are different than the ones I thought were going to end up here, but they are older. This is still one of the good ones.
Hey, Willow. I just want you to know that what you told Thixus, he kept his promise even though he didn't know he was keeping it. About not letting me chase that man. He was worried he'd almost failed, but he didn't. So everything's okay. I'm glad you told him, though.
She kind of like, she leans in a little bit and she gets like kind of a conspiratorial look on her face and she says, I'm not really supposed to put my thumb on the scale like that, but that means that there's still some good ones left for you in the end.
Alar just smiles a little bit because he's hearing words and phrases he's heard several times said by other people, and he's going. He's beginning to understand why her gaze is so intense.
Rowan just nods and goes, I hope so. But I trust your judgment, Willow. That's why we came here.
She looks at the rest of you and she says, we didn't do a very good job of this, did we? I served tea, and we didn't even do introductions.
My mother would be ashamed of me.
They moved my room all around, and it's got me forgetting my manners. And she looks at the other group of you, and she says, you can call me Una. No, you can't. That's not my name. You can call me Willow. You can call me Willow. Because Willow is what I am. Miss Una gave me that name. What names can I call you?
Walter's going to dredge back memories to playing with his daughter at tea time on the handful of times he was able to, and he's going to try to pretend to be the person who he thinks is supposed to be at that table. So I don't know if you want me to make a performance check to try to be as adequate, capable as I can be.
No,
Walter is not from he does not have the etiquette necessary. To
Walter's
do this.
I am Mrs. Nesbit.
No,
You see that?
So Walter's you see the mustache? No. Walter's gonna just say, you may call me Walter, or Mr. Gray if you prefer. Your choice.
She considers you for a moment. She goes, Mr. Gray for right now. Walter, soon, I think.
Pleasure to meet you. Hello. My name is Alar Cabot Jr. Please, call me Alar.
She looks at you, Brom.
Disguise self immediately.
Yeah.
Jemima Sweetens, let's go.
Brom similarly thinks back, not to like
To play
have
to have it
his-
with Walter's kid.
yeah, but thinks back to his own childhood, and says, "You can call me Bauer. It something my parents used to call me." And for anybody who knows, Bauer is the Orcish word for son, like my son.
She unexpectedly she like cracks this huge wide smile, and she says, "For so long, all of those names and faces that you've been wearing, it was because you'd forgotten who you are. But
I don't like tea time anymore.
she says, but you remembered now." That's good. This is a good one for you.
You're doing it, Peter. You're doing it.
like you pan over, you
There you are, Peter.
Can I tell you? Let's
I
set
remember my happy dog.
We're gonna send fantasy out of the room for a minute. Can I tell you, as I have been like thinking about your guys' interaction with Willow, because I set like the established rule for her that like she will not physically make contact with anybody, I have had to like rein in the urge to have her mush your face.
Yeah, there
and
you
go,
are,
"There
Peter."
you are, Brom. Okay, all right. Let's hang on. Let's open the door. Fantasy, come on back in. Here you
Brom
go.
says,
Take his hat. Take your seat.
"Bangarang."
And she,
I gotta watch Hook.
yeah, she turns
Just had an
to
apostrophe.
she turns to Osrius, and he says, "You can call me Oz. Just Oz." And she frowns a little bit at him. And she says, "You're not ready yet. That's okay, there's time." And Una says, "Willow, dear, have you been all right? I've wanted to come and try and visit you and bring you things that you might need, but the men who were residing in this building made it impossible. I've been worried about you these past months." And Willow says, "It's been okay. I've missed being able to come out above, but there's plenty below. And I knew it wouldn't be forever." And she looks around to everybody, and she like finishes her tea and like sets the cup down, and she looks at everybody else and she says, "Would anyone like more tea, or should we move on to other matters?"
I would like to come back for another cup of tea another day. Unfortunately, we are quite pressed for time, Willow. But I really do hope we can do this very soon. And in fact, I'll show you how I make my dandelion tea recipe. I'm sure yours is better. I haven't made mine in quite a while, but...
She kind of smiles a little and she says, and she says, okay. Let's go below. She gets up and she moves over to the fireplace. And she looks at you, Ron, and she like gestures you forward.
Yep.
She like ducks her head a little bit and steps inside the fireplace.
I follow.
Is the fireplace on?
Yeah, Walter.
Yeah,
They're both on fire now.
It's a magic illusion fireplace. I just assumed the fireplace was on.
No, it is an empty hearth.
Okay.
She kind of steps in, and she looks at you, and you see like a troubled look kind of crosses her face. She seems to be like steeling herself for something. And she holds out her hand to you.
I'll move to put my hand in hers, but just say very quietly so no one else hears. Are you okay, Willow?
She says, it's hard sometimes when I touch, I can see all of the them, and it's hard to come back to here. But she says, I have to take you with me now, so it's okay.
Will gloves help? Do you have to touch all of us?
She says, she just like puts her fingers, and she takes your hand, and she kind of like, you see she sort of like shudders for a minute, and then she puts her hand on the brick wall of the back of the fireplace. And the rest of you watch as the brick wall kind of like ripples like water, and Willow like takes a step and sort of pulls Rowan with her, and the two of them like pass through this wall and disappear. And a moment later, Willow steps back through the back of the fireplace by herself.
Rowan's hitting the sides of wherever she is right now.
And
Prison realm.
Yep.
She actually let's do that. Rowan, you find yourself in a sort of like a like you find yourself inside the walls of this house, right? Like you see the back of the fireplace, you see the like lattice work of studs and support beams, and you are in a like foot wide gap between the like plaster and the exterior wall. And so as you like kind of like ooh and like kind of bang and bump, the rest of you actually you hear like the thud from behind the wall of like Rowan now inside the wall of this room. And Willow like holds out her hand for somebody to like come next.
Out of full instinct, Rowan is going to take many steps to her left to get out of the way.
Okay.
I feel like we're gonna push Oz to go first because we know Rowan's size, and if we have Oz go through and he fits, then it's not really a problem for the rest of us.
Okay, so you push Oz forward. He has trouble getting, like, he has to fully like
Is the thing where he
crouched,
sits
like,
on his ankles?
yeah, he's doing this inside the like in the fireplace, and takes Willow's hand, and she slightly awkwardly like shuffles him through the wall as well, and comes back out. And one by one, she will bring you guys through the wall. When the last of you is in there, you hear from the other side of the wall, you hear Una kind of like calls through, and she says, "Aye, this probably about be where I need to leave you. I ought to go and tend to what's going on the rest of the island. I don't reckon that whatever awaits you down there has got aught to do with anything I need to be worried about."
Walter, I want to try to open a like face-sized hole.
Oh yeah, easily enough.
So,
do that.
Just like over to where we were, and I'll look over, and I'll like Walter will kind of like beckon her over, and he'll like reach a hand through and just like offer to shake her hand.
Okay, she shakes your hand through the hole in the wall.
I call through the portal.
Well,
Don't
actually, Walter's gonna move the portal to row it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, is that a thing I can do?
Right. Yeah, why not?
Rowan just looks at Una and smiles and says, "Enjoy your new ship, Captain," and winks, and is done.
And when she winks, I'm gonna cut the camera at that point, just for maximum dramatic effect.
The portal goes ba-nut-nut-nut-nut, whoop, and then disappears. Okay. So, you guys all find yourself in this narrow, like, crawl space between the walls. And Willow, is, like, reemerges through the brick wall. And, she says, "Okay, this way." And she starts to, like, for her, she just is able to walk through this space, like, no problem. Rowan for sure, Oz for sure, probably Brahm have to kind of go sideways. Walter and Aylar, you guys maybe have to turn at like a slight angle. It's probably 2 feet 18 inches ish wide.
Walter's gonna take his key out.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn the key on my armor, and I'm going to reduce myself.
Okay, so baby Walter is now
Is now getting stepped on by Rowan, bro.
Yeah, I figure after the second time, Rowan just literally picks up Walter and is like,
Oz,
just-
yeah.
Oz
He's
just
like tiny. He's a tiny. He's just you can Master Blaster it now.
Okay, you head kind of through what clearly is like a series of like secret passages through the guts of this estate. You descend 2 floors. The first descent, you essentially slide down a narrow shaft that almost looks like maybe at one point it was like for a dumbwaiter, but is no more. So Willow quickly just steps up to this shaft. You see there's like a series of they look like tile, like ceramic tiles. She's got like a little stack of them. She grabs 2, one in each hand, and then she hops into the into this shaft and plants her hands on the walls with these tiles on her hands and uses them to absorb the friction as she just goes zoop, and slips down, and you hear her kind of land 10-15 feet below. As you guys whether you want to replicate her system or whether you just Oz probably just he kind of just pushes his forearms into either side and kind of shimmies his way down.
So I feel like the sound of Oz skin on tile would be unsettling. As he just drags slowly down.
yeah, it's concrete scraping on concrete. It's
Yeah.
just-
Miniaturized Walter will use the miniaturized broom and then just kind of
You just fly down. Okay.
like just like have it like straight up and down and then just kind of like.
All right. So Walter
pull
Mary Poppins is his way
Yep.
down to the first floor. The second descent you do is like a earthen floor. It's just like a slope, and you just kind of walk down kind of a ramp. And you reach, oddly enough, you see like a stone. One of the walls is like a stone wall that is like cobbled. Clearly, it is like the interior wall of like the basement, probably. You can see a narrow opening in the wall that leads to like a channel that eventually leads to like another opening in what is a natural wall of like rock and earth. That you do see like a little bit of water is like sort of draining from the interior of the basement, like draining out this and like presumably out to outside. And this little passageway eventually like descends, and you get the distinct impression that you are like descending and curving in what quickly becomes like a naturally formed stone sort of crevasse into the cliffside. And you descend a pretty significant way through this this pathway that has been like opened by like a fissure in the rock, and you descend what you gauge to be probably a little ways below like sea level. Like you think you are truly underground at this point. And eventually you come to a very reminiscent of when you guys went into that like Ignean research station, where like it was like a bunch of natural cave formation, and then like eventually it like a piece of like a structure wall was like exposed. You come to that where there is like a clearly a like man-made wall with a hole in it that she like brings you to, and she stops as you guys get to it, and she says, "This is how you get into the below."
Thank you.
Is the below where the sending caves are, Willow?
She nods and she says, "It's pretty complicated. I'll have to take you there. You might get lost otherwise."
Okay.
And she like hops into like over the little bit of rubble into the inside of the structure. You see she immediately like turns left and goes out of your sight, and then like a moment later there's sort of like a flicker and a like an aquamarine sort of like luminescent light spills out from around this corner, and she comes back holding a at first you like have a moment of panic as you're like, oh shit, she's got a ghost lantern, but she comes and you see that she's got in her hand a what at first looks like a lantern is actually like a handle like of a lantern, but is connected to like a hunk of some kind of like crystal or like quartz or something, which is just like independently. It's only about yay big, but is giving off this illumination.
Have I ever seen anything like that before? I sincerely doubt it, but I gotta ask.
Make a history check.
Say Walter is also very curious as he is a former miner.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all former miners, but
well,
like...
Alar's not a former miner, but he is a scholar of things
25
Ignean
history
and Imbarian.
Okay.
So Alar's check for history is
I'll make one.
24.
Shit.
Walter got a 16 for rocks.
For rocks.
Would that be higher? So
5.
would that be a nature or would that be a?
I would say I would accept a nature, a history, or an arcana in this. In this.
So it would be a
situation.
20 for nature for Walter, I think, because he's thinking about it from like the minor perspective.
So, what I think all of you sort of are able to glean from those, like, except for Brahm, who's like, oh, fucking glowy guy, cool.
Brahm's still emotionally
She's shook it.
Claiming
from-
I'm
Oh.
still thinking about the handwriting. He's still stuck.
The other 3 of you with those pretty good rolls. I think what you're able to determine from that is that you know that this thing is not a naturally occurring, like, glowing rock. You know that it is not of any existing or, like, historical arcana tech that you guys have ever heard of, but you can definitely tell that, like, this is certainly some kind of, like, enchanted item. Like, this thing was made at some point, but you can tell that it is, like, this could be one of a kind. This could be the only one of these that exists, or, you know, it's like this is some kind of a long lost glowing rock technology that has never been discovered. Like, you have no basis for, like, what this thing might be, except for the fact that, like, it's got a handle to it and it's casting enough light for you guys to see in this space.
I think Walter's curiosity is going to get the better of him, and he's going to, like, directly ask about it, and he's going to say, I'm terribly sorry, Willow, but this is intriguing. Is this... I assume it doesn't run on souls, but does it run on your own magic, or...?
She goes very still. And then she, like, turns away and starts, like, walking. She doesn't, like, you get the sense that, like, for a half a second, she debates that she was gonna run for it. And she, like, she just turns and she just starts to, like, walk further into this space.
Like, Walter's
Rowan
gonna, like,
looks at
see
Walter.
Rowan freaking out, and he's like... and he's like, he just silently, like, first off, he's gonna be like, what? I don't know. And then he's like, and then he's like, I'm sorry.
Alar just follows quietly behind her.
Rowan makes looks at Walter and just goes, I get it, but, like, later. And then follows Willow. Like, Rowan wants to know too, but she's like, I have learned do not ask this child questions as much as you want to. Just, you can see a lot of times Rowan's holding her mouth like this. She's like,
Jason is entirely new to this NPC and has no other interaction with it
we were
whatsoever
told
outside
3
of being
interaction rules,
described.
no questions, no touchy, and no touchy.
Walter's been told a lot of rules and a lot of times and has maybe a 30% success rate.
That's optimistic.
It's like 12. Let's
I
be
said
clear.
maybe. I said maybe.
Okay. She begins to lead you through what is very clearly, like, an ancient complex of some sort. It has very much been reclaimed by the natural sort of environs of this subterranean area. So, like, there are parts that you are led through that are almost fully intact, like structures and hallways. There are parts that she brings you through that are, little more than, like, crawlways that you have to, like, army crawl on your hands and knees through. You guys can, if you so choose, you can make some. You can make either a history or an arcana check as she, like, guides you through this place to kind of, like, intuit some things about this space.
That's either or for me. So
Walter got a 3 on his Arcana check, as he is more focused on trying to figure out how that rock works.
of course, this is where I roll the natural 20. That's a 27 for history.
History? Okay.
24 history for Rowan.
Okay. Anything from Brahm?
Not even gonna try it this time.
Okay. So as you guys walk through, Alar and Rowan, you guys see in some of the more intact chambers, there is evidence that whatever this place used to be, it had all sorts of what you kind of are able to intuit from the few encounters you've had with it, is some kind of ancient arcanotech. There are remnants of what appear to be long dead or broken pieces of like gargantuan machinery that seem to be as much like integral to the structure of this place as they are like features in any individual rooms. You at one point you find yourselves walking through what you realize is like a 10-foot around like pipe that would have, you know, like well, there's like an aqueduct, like a water pipe or something, you know, something like, but it's like a pipe large enough that you were like walking through it. You come to a chamber that Willow calls Hopstitch when you get to it, and what you see is a like mostly flooded sort of ovoid shaped chamber that has all of these like various like all around the chamber there is like almost like they're like pistons almost that are at various points of being like extended from the very walls of this chamber, and as you kind of follow her, she makes her way into this chamber, and she begins like in order to traverse this chamber, she begins jumping like from piston to piston to make her way like sort of clockwise up and about 15-20 feet like ascended higher in this chamber to like another exit to this large space. So your sort of your history checks don't necessarily tell you anything specific about this place, save that what you are able to glean from it is that this you've now had some brushes with ancient Anvarian tech. You've had some very scant brushes, and you have learned from your encounters with some of the Exarchs that there was a civilization that existed pre-Anvaria. You glean from just looking at this, like whatever this complex is probably like the oldest thing that any of you have ever encountered at this point. This is definitely pre-Anvarian Empire like structure.
This is something the early Brotherhood was building. They had said they needed these chambers.
Can I see where she went in from where we're standing at the bottom?
Yeah, presumably you guys are following her during this whole ordeal. Like she's not like she's taking pains to like guide you guys through this.
Yeah. No, Alar is saying this as he's following along.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just gonna see if the portal worked.
Lazy ass. Oh, but good to test actually. Good point.
Because like Walter tried the portal away at the dragon, and that caused issues as he was pulling the trigger, ain't nothing happening.
I think as you maybe do some experimentation, I think you do find that you are able to open portals in this area, in this like space at this point.
Okay.
Um,
I think I feel like as long as he doesn't have to like actively utilize any other magic, I think Walter, just having had experienced like the dead zones before, will probably periodically just like pop a hole somewhere.
okay. Then if anything changes with you like being able to pop an opening as you like test, when that becomes not the case, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
we'll
like,
just
just-
assume, so
yeah,
you don't have to
just-
keep saying it. We'll assume that like he's
That's-
doing it, and when it would like if and when it doesn't work anymore, I'll let you know that like you discover that. That's
Gotcha.
fine.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I want to make it narratively easy.
Yeah.
At some point in this, because I'm assuming it's taking a while, and there's stretches of us just following Willow
Mhm.
through flat areas, and Walter's testing portals, it will remind Rowan that she wants to test her thing where she tries to mystically, telepathically shoulder tap Malark
Okay.
with the divine thing and see if she can get him.
You say shoulder tap. I know what you really mean.
No, it's actual
What
shoulder tap.
did I have you
Okay.
roll religion or arcana last time?
I don't remember.
I think it was
What's better? Let's maybe ask. What's better for you, religion or arcana?
Religion's better.
Okay, then let's roll with religion. That's fine. I think that makes sense, right? It's your divine power.
16 plus 6.
Okay, and what are you trying to do specifically?
It's the motion that we would do before going into any meeting or mission or whatever, like kind of like anytime we were ever going to go do something together, or like a joke, just that like Pally, like, hey buddy,
Okay.
like da-da, like using that divine sense that I have to reach all paladins, since I tested it and could still find
Sure.
him. I'm trying to make him aware that I
Okay.
can now reach him a different way.
And what was your roll there?
16 plus 6.
Oh,
So
okay. So above 20.
above 20.
Okay. I think you do this, and I think you can kind of instinctually tell like it worked. You get a. Here, let's use this as the metaphor. You liken this mental or spiritual, whatever you want to call it, expenditure of energy as like taking a deep inhale of breath and trying to blow on the flame of a match that is across the room.
Mhm.
The first time you tried it,
Nothing.
you didn't think anything, you felt nothing. This time, as you sort of steel yourself and like shove this exertion outwards, you sort of feel the equivalent of the match on the side of the room, the flame going like flickering a little bit. And I think that's like the only sense that you get is like you kind of can tell that you're pretty sure that he
something,
felt
but-
it.
It's my whole intent is more just the reminder after hearing from Corey and hearing from Willow there's good things left maybe, and that not all things are lost. She knows that there's going to be a choice, and Rowan's just trying to remind him of that feeling and trying to hope that maybe it's not completely lost, but knowing that if it comes down to it, she'll do what she has to.
Okay.
But just trying to stack the deck a little on the way.
Sure. All right. So she leads you. You guys kind of travel through this area for maybe 30 minutes, and she leads you into a portion of this compound that is like relatively intact for a little bit. You kind of you find yourself like walking down like a surprisingly like well maintained like hallway, and she gets to a doorway, and beyond her in the the gloom of the doorway you can see a very large chamber is on the other side, and as she stops in the doorway and she's faced away from you, and in the few moments of quiet where she is just paused, you hear the gentle lapping of water in this chamber, and you hear a singular, like decidedly resonant plink of dripping water. And she turns back around and she says, "We're nearly there, but we have to go through this room first. This is Droplet." She says, "If you want, you can look at some of the different ones that there might be, but you should be careful if you do." And she moves into the chamber.
Can I roll for riddle?
Look, he's too curious for his own good.
I say,
like there's no other, like, you have to follow her to wherever she's going.
Yeah, I know, but he is going to make an effort to look.
I think Walter's mostly just confused by her sentence. It's not parsing for some reason.
Sure.
Rowan, having heard this from Willow before and hearing the single drop sound, is probably making the face that I just made. And as soon as we follow her,
if Rowan's visibly making a face, Walter's gonna be like, "What does that mean?"
I think
He's
it
a
means
diviner. That's the only thing that Alar says
Yeah.
before following.
it means there's a chance to see different weaves in here. But I also think it means it could go poorly for your brain if it goes bad.
I cast blindness on myself.
Okay, you
I
can't
don't-
blind us
I
on
don't-
yourself.
As soon as I see he does that and he's like immediately like this, I take Walter's arm and start. So I take that you don't want to know, Walter.
But Walter's gonna pause for a second. He's gonna say, "It's not that I don't want to know; it's that it doesn't matter."
I think I'd have to come back another time and look. And I'd agree that my fate's pretty much done for now.
Well,
until
Walter's gonna
after all of
wave at
this.
where he thinks she's at. He's like, "Fate doesn't matter."
I mean,
We're-
wrong choice of words, but yes, I agree. I think we're just kind of. I might
We're-
need a look after all of this is done. Is my point.
So
If I'm alive.
if you guys proceed, towards her, she's making her way across chamber. What you see is that there is there's like a walkway that you need to follow through this chamber, and it proceeds in, and then it begins to sort of curve and run in a spiral inwards towards the center of the chamber. And on the far side of the chamber, you see that, like, much like this doorway that your guys coming through, there's like a piece of this spiral that sort of branches off and goes towards like the exit on the far side of the room. In the center of the chamber, there is a stalactite from the ceiling, right?
Hangs tight to the
Stalagmite
ceiling.
from the ground. The natural way in which, like, that rock formation works, right, is that water dragging mineral deposits with it leaches through the ceiling, collects, drops down, eventually builds down, right, builds the stalactite. Where it hits the ground, the minerals build up, forms a stalagmite. The ceiling does seem to bear that structure. You see there is this sort of conical shaped structure coming from the ceiling. Beneath it instead of a pointed structure, there is a structure that sort of starts pointed, but then like kind of opens back up in this weird sort of spiraled, almost flower petal like structure that forms like a basin, essentially, a very large basin. As you look at the structure from above, you see that it is not just a natural sort of jagged stalactite. It is like it's almost like nautiloid in shape. It's recurved and sort of spiraling. As you follow Willow through this space, you see a single drop of water like gathers quivering at the tip of this structure from the ceiling, and then falls and strikes this structure beneath it, and the plink of the drop of the water is like significantly louder than it seems like it should be. And Willow kind of points, gestures to it as she moves over, and she says, "There's always things that can be seen, but sometimes the seeing is part of what makes the things change. If you want to, you can see." And I think I'm gonna step out of character for a minute, and I'm gonna describe this thing to you, because I think the best way to give you guys the lowdown on this is to take a metagame approach. Droplet, as has been parsed by Rowan, is very clearly some sort of an ancient divination device. If you guys so choose to interact with Droplet, you can climb into that basin in the middle and let a drop from above fall onto your head. It is a water that contains a single glimpse of pure, unfiltered divination magic. In metagame terms, if you would like to utilize Droplet, the drop of water falls onto your character's head. You, sort of the character, the player, whatever, may ask me, the Dungeon Master, one question about anything in the campaign. Past, present situation, potential future situation. The answer may be a little cryptic. The answer may be a little unclear. The answer in your character learning it may affect whether that thing does or does not come to pass. In seeing the future, you may change it. But I will answer it truthfully, with no holds barred.
It's a question about the future, not the past.
Anything.
It can be
past, present,
anything.
future.
It could be a question about now, like what's on sale in the bar.
You could.
Yeah.
The stipulation is that the more you can do this multiple times, there is a chance that exposing yourself to the raw, unfiltered divination like weave will make your character permanently insane.
Permanently insane, you say?
The chance is starts off on the lower end, but the more, like when like if you choose to do like a second one, a third of for like it gets increasingly more likely that exposing yourself to this will make your character like have a break from reality and will make them permanently mad. If it's not been hinted at strongly in your interactions with Tori and Idrian, and like Willow's whole thing, prolonged usage and exposure to this thing is not great for your character's like grip on reality. So that's sort of the trade-off, right? Like you can choose to interact with this thing, and I will give you, in one form or another, I will give you any piece of information that you seek out. But it might make you irreversibly like have a psychotic episode that will like affect your character for the duration of the campaign.
This is a double-edged sword because you have Walter, the character who likes to risk things for knowledge and power, and Brittany, the player, who needs all of the lore questions.
So I think like obviously the metagame description of this is one thing, but like Walter is very seriously an anti-fatalist, and I think I've established that with the way that he does things in general, in that he's largely reckless in pursuit of power, but like has pretty reliably disregarded 100% of all the divination magic that has come to pass thus far. So like Walter is so utter, like his blindness passed after a minute, so like he was only being silly for it. But so like he's gonna look at it and kind of like make like a sad face. It's like because like
it's divination magic, lame.
It's like it's dad magic. It's fine. So like he's gonna look at it kind of like there's a bunch of things I want to know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change what I have to do. Like that's his approach to. So like,
as you say that, Willow kind of looks at you and she says, "There are always lots of different paths, and they are always changing." She says, "There's never just one way that things can be. And sometimes looking is the thing that makes things different."
No, I understand.
She says she says she's like, sometimes not looking is the things that make things different.
For me, there's only one path. It's the one that I'm on. It may have many branches, but I don't know what they're going to be until they happen.
She nods as if that's like, ah, yes, indeed.
It's like,
quite.
It's like she's like mentally like, nope, this one's gone, this one's gone, this one's gone, this one's gone. Like, ugh. Yeah. So Walter's going to withhold. Like, I'm not going to stop anybody else from looking. It's just like his personal belief structure is that it doesn't matter. So.
Okay.
Jason absolutely fucking wants to dive his whole face in there and be like, drip on me.
I'm going to figure out some bribe I can send Matt via mail after this campaign is over to get the equivalent of this information post-campaign.
Oh, I mean, here's the thing, right? There's no set information, right? Like this is fully dependent on like if you guys use it, what you ask me.
Yeah, I know, but I have 1,000,001 questions, and I cannot risk Rowan going insane at this juncture.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of just one because I feel any more than that makes the risk too untenable. And Alar is unbelievably curious.
Yeah.
Walter's gonna muse out loud. It's like, it could be pretty cool to find out why is Artanis though.
Why is Artanis?
Grimora?
Why?
We know the who, but we don't know the why necessarily.
We do know kind of.
No,
why.
we know the
We know the
why.
what. We know the what.
Alar has kind of figured out the why as well. At least he thinks he has, anyway.
We
When
have a
you
start rate.
Sartanis.
5 seconds in the future, you see him staring at you in the well.
Just figuring out how to phrase this question. So if anybody else actually wants to,
Jason's gonna AFK while you guys are figuring that out.
and has their question already figured out, please proceed.
I look at Braum for a moment.
I have no clue what question I'm.
Well, hey, let me put this way. So Jason has said Walter is out, right? Is anybody else going to? Is any other characters going to opt out of participating in trying this thing at least once, or is everybody else like?
I don't know. It all comes down to if I
Here's-
can come up with a worthwhile question.
Here's my question. My counter question: is there any chance in HE double hockey sticks we can come back to this? Like,
No.
Even like
no.
like,
Yeah, this is I'll give you that one for free. That's
There's
your
Emily.
Brittany. That's your Brittany the player's droplet. Once you guys leave this chamber, like this is not coming back before the campaign is over.
okay.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Outside of the game, Jason has questions. Jason would love to know many things.
That's a post campaign hang call.
Sure.
Yeah.
But specifically, the things that Walter thinks he needs to know, but doesn't want to involve himself in, like, not cheesing, but like doesn't believe that that this will give him the answers he needs, or that the answers don't matter anyway. But the things that he would like to know as like a person who's trying to figure all this nonsense out is one, where on earth am I going to find Maka? That's an important question that he would like to know. The other one is, can the third sister be healed in any meaningful way? Would be a second one that he would love to ask questions for. Things that are like directly related to like the story as I need to progress it for my character, but not necessarily things that are like, what's Artanis' weakness?
Going to
That's the only.
what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, so.
Okay, I think I figured out my question.
I hope that line of inquiry helps you guys figure out the questions you want to ask,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to
Rowan-
ask them, even if I really, really want to as a person.
Yeah, Rowan, and also Brittany as the player, even though I want to know everything. Brittany as the player also does not do risk, so Brittany as the player is also going to not risk her character that she loves more than anything.
I'll tell you this much for free. On the first one, I'm going to have you roll a D100. And there'll be a 10% chance that you develop an insanity.
That would be when I would.
1 to 10 on a D100.
No, that would be when I
make your
mess up,
character
so.
crazy.
That'd be when I do it. So no, Rowan's going to look extremely tempted, and then just mutter to herself, "I'll figure it out on my own," and stand next to Walter.
Then if Braum still hasn't figured out his, Alar will. Oh, I always get myself in trouble with these questions. What's one more? And he will step forward and let one plunk.
Alrighty. Hold your D100 roll till after you ask the question. I give you the answer.
Okay.
So you move into the center of this chamber. You kind of like you find that you're able to sort of like settle yourself into almost like a recumbent position. That like places your forehead directly below the point of this thing above you. And after a few moments, you see the sort of like glint appear at the tip of that stalactite, illuminated off of the light that Willow is holding, and it falls and lands square in the center of your forehead. And you guys watch as it hits Alar. There is a like wave of like rainbow color, like emanates throughout the room. And Alar, you kind of like fix your mind on like what you are sort of trying to like divine the information on, and what is the question that you are posing to me?
My question is one of the future.
Okay.
Presuming that we can successfully defeat the Brotherhood of Artanis and reseat the World Heart, will the members of Alar's family who have passed, his father, his sister, will they be at peace?
Okay. You see a blur of images. It's like a movie being played at like 200x fast forward speed. So fast that everything just like blurs into this sort of single tunnel of like shifting colors and shadow that like rips past your consciousness as you hurtle forward into the future. You see this this vortex of possibility and future like ripping past you, and you see occasionally like offshoots like peeling off in different directions in the blink of an eye, going past you so quickly that you can't do any more than acknowledge the fact that you sort of took note of them as they like branch away from the trunk that you follow and like fire off into a different direction, immeasurable different paths before you. And eventually you like everything resolves into an image of the night sky. And you see the rings of Egeria illuminated above you. You see the familiar stars and constellations that you recognize. And as you look, you see almost as if an oily sheen is like burned away from the sky, this rainbow of color, like from horizon to horizon, sort of like in this like aurora borealis, like ribbons its way across the sky overhead. The rings of the planet themselves like shine brightly with this like chromatic hue of all of these impossible colors. And as this wave passes by, you see that the night sky takes on this new life. What were for all of your life the familiar sight of the familiar stars and constellations and things, you now can see like the spread of an entire like arm of the galaxy. I don't know if you've ever been to a place where the light pollution is low enough that you can see like the arc of the Milky Way. It's like that. You see like it's like going from seeing the one or two bright stars near a city or a town to being hundreds of miles away from anything and seeing the universe writ large across the sky out in front of you. And as you see this, you see a ripple begin to appear in the sky, but much closer than the ring of the planet and the distant stars. It is high above you, but it is much closer, and you see this ripple becomes a sort of an ovoid shape, and you see from it something begins to emerge, and you just make out what you believe to be the prow of a vessel, a ship. And then your vision ends, and you are back in the cave. Go ahead and roll that D100.
47.
47. Okay, so you do not go insane.
Sits there for a second. Huh. Okay. And then immediately gets up.
You get up before a second drop can hit you.
Whoa.
Okay.
I'm all right.
Okay.
You, Aylar, as you stand up, you feel a little bit like you're underwater right now. You're like, your inner ear is a little funny. Everything kind of has like a too bright hue to it. You kind of take internal stock of your senses, and you feel at least that you are still fully like in the present, but everything around you has taken this like disconcerting dream-like state, and you start to become very cognizant of the fact that like you feel like when you're in a dream and you become just lucid enough that you realize that like, ooh, like this might become a nightmare in a second here. And you kind of like take a couple of centering breaths, and you try to like center yourself on the focus, and you do already realize that this sensation is beginning to subside. But like it is an odd sort of sensation as you step away from the machine.
I think I understand Torian Adrian far better now.
Walter's gonna clap Aylar on the shoulder and say, well, welcome back to the land of the living. You're under there for like an hour. You okay?
And he just looks at Walter. and
I
Scooter just pops out from a pocket. He really wants to bite you right now.
I'm kidding. So, how far did you
Willow
go
is
in
like,
what direction?
Yeah. Don't.
she didn't like that either.
No, Walter's
right,
gonna ask him like, which way did you go and and how far?
Not sure how far, but I asked a question of the future. Or what may be.
Well, you're
What
not
I hope will be.
screaming in horror, so I assume it's all, at least on the path of questioning, okay for now.
My question was if things go well, which is not,
We'll aim for it.
Sufficiently.
the future hasn't. The future hasn't come yet, so we've got to get.
We'll aim
get
for it.
there.
It's fine.
Well, it does appear to have been less horrifying than touching that statue, so good on you
Rom,
for doing it.
Did you wish to try?
I don't think so. I think I'm good. There's nothing I have a burning question for enough to maybe go insane for.
I will say this.
Not even about your family?
This does come off. It'll be worth it.
Like, Walter will ask him if he's not really worth it. It's like, not even about your your surviving family. Like,
He says, that whole thing about asking may not make it true, is what's preventing me. I'd rather not ask
Not mess
and
with it.
fuck things up.
That's
Walter
why I'm
is
not asking.
like visibly very understanding of that the entire concept. It's
Rowan
like,
grabs her little necklace and looks for Sela and Nimue and everybody again real quick. She's like,
Once Aylar is fully back to himself, he does actually, formally bow to Willow. Thank you.
She kind of nods, and she says, there are some where none of you use Droplet, and there are some where you all use Droplet. She kind of smiles a little, and She says, some people need to know, even if the knowing can't help make things different. Things that already happened can't change. And knowing the things that might, it's only a thing that makes some people feel better. That there's really no controlling the future. And she kind of looks at you, the group of you, and she gives sort of an apologetic look a little bit to Alar, and she says, the people that can just live and not have to know are usually happier. The knowing makes you know, but it doesn't make you happy. At least, not for me. She kind of looks at you and she says, maybe it'll be different for you.
It is. Ignorance has never been bliss for me. Ignorance means pain. Knowledge may not be a salve, but sometimes it is better to know what's about to hit you, even if there's nothing you can do about it.
She smiles a little bit.
Walter's gonna fish around in the bag of holding, and I want to see if I can find any extra toys that I may have gotten from Sears, or any if there's like extra kid stuff that was like that he remembers like picking up, and see if I can fish around in there for something like that. I don't remember if I ever got extra stuff or not, but
I certainly don't remember if you have extra stuff.
I don't know, just like a small trinket, something that would have cost like a copper.
Sure,
or whatever,
no problem.
like, whatever. And he's gonna like pull it out and like extend it in his hand to Willow and say, I think I meant to give this to one of my children, but if it makes you happy now, you can have it.
She kind of looks at it for a long moment. And she starts to reach out and almost plucks it out of your hand. But then she withdraws and she looks at it again. And she smiles a little and she says, no, that one's not for me. You should save that one.
Alright, I will put mystery trinket from Sears in my inventory and put it back in the bag of holding for later.
So she
item description not for Willow.
not for Willow. She like gestures you guys to the exit of the chamber. I will, just for posterity's sake, I will say, if Curtis is with us next week, I will give him the opportunity to come back and do this if he wants. Sure. But we'll retcon that for now. So we'll say either Oz did or didn't use Droplet. She kind of gestures you guys out of the room to the next chamber. As you guys make your exit, you see that you come into a room that looks very familiar to you, as it is nigh identical. Not you, actually, Rowan, but everybody else, the other guys here. It is nigh identical to the chamber that you saw beneath the Star Spire in Mithlinde. There's a large circular chamber with a platform in the center that is surrounding like a domed structure made out of an unknown alloy that has like hexagonal like golf ball paneling to it almost.
Be damned, we found it. This is just like what's under Noveria.
This is the sending chamber.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna poke it.
Hit.
Baylor's going to return to Willow. He's going to dig around in a few pockets. I don't know how to thank you properly for this. So, but this could change everything or nothing. Literally nothing. This, and he holds up a piece of, it's like a very cloudy, like blue crystal thing. There's a little girl that looked a lot like you. And she found this one day, and it was her favorite thing in the world. It was her gem, her lucky gem, and she's no longer here. And I gather that you have been given many gifts, and for what you have done for us, I feel I owe you one. And so, he sets it down in front of her and steps back. I'd like you to have that. She was special as well.
She takes it and she picks it up and she looks at it and she kind of closes her eyes for a minute. And when she opens them, you see as she looks at you, she's sort of wrestling with, you know, she like almost starts to say something and then she like, you see her think like, maybe I shouldn't. And then she says, I know this. In all the ones where it's you guys that come here, whether it's you or her that comes, you always give me this. This isn't the one where it was her, but in the ones where it was, she loved you very much, just as much as you do her.
I know, but that is very, very nice to hear.
She tucks it into her dress. And
thank you, Willow.
She kind of nods. Walter, did you say you poked the sphere a minute ago?
Well, it didn't do anything last time I poked it, so he's curious
This is
about
a
it now.
different sending cave, you fool.
So you poke it this time, and you immediately feel the supercharged Moxham Ghost Lantern in your possession. You feel like power begin to like, It's like sticking your finger in an electrical socket, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not the source of the power, but it's going through your body.
So
you're
like
oh
it's-
shit, and
like
you're able to pull your
moment-
hand away really quickly.
The moment like he touches it, and then, like as soon as there's any like non-inert reaction, he's immediately pulling off. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you put your hand on this, and you come to the pretty quick understanding that like, oh, I have a thing on my person that has a like an energy source that this is compatible with, and will do something with this device.
So Walter will like with that realization, Walter will like kind of like bow and gesture at the thing. He said, "When we're ready."
Yeah, about that. Rowan looks at Willow. I don't know what this is gonna do when we do what we do. And I'm worried that we're so far underground it's not safe for you. Is there a quick way out for you?
She smiles and she says, "It's okay. I've seen lots of the ones where somebody uses this. I'll be fine."
Because Mr. Gray could always portal you back to Una.
She shakes her head and she says, "No, no.
Not your style.
This is my home."
I know.
She says when you use the sending cave, it doesn't hurt the rest of the below.
Okay. I care a lot about you, Willow, and I don't want anything to happen when I'm not here to make it better.
She smiles at you and she kind of steps up and gets close enough, not close enough that like
No,
to
she never
touch, right, but close enough that she can lower her voice and like only you can hear her and the others can't. And she says, There's something that you learn in some of them, and you don't know if you've learned it in this one yet, but she gets that little bit of a mischievous smile. She says, "I'm gonna cheat."
You don't have to on my account.
She says, "No, I think it'll help you. I think it'll help to make sure that one of your good ones happens." She says, "It's been all this time, and you haven't yet learned the difference between a clenched fist and a broken heart." She smiles a little and she says, "People can only keep hurting you so long as you still love them." Sometimes the tighter you try to hold on, the more what you were trying to hold on to slips away from you. She says, "Just think about that."
Rowan looks like she got smacked in the face, but nods. I will. I'll learn it for real one day. Thank you, Willow.
She kind of nods and she backs away about 20 feet from
Yep.
where you guys are.
The blast radius.
Okay, Walter. Let's see what this lantern can do.
All right. Look for a gas fill port or a charge station, and I will take the little lantern and touch it to the
It's like the Epcot ball, essentially, in the center of the chamber.
Walter's gonna mage hand it and just put it on top of it.
Okay. You do that, and nothing happens.
I think we have to be on top as well.
I think we just need to touch it.
Um,
So Walter will like bring it back down and like just everybody at the same time, just in case that's how it works.
on 3, which is 1, 2, and we touch on 3.
Sure.
Not 1, 2, 3, and then touch.
3 touch.
So as soon as Walter, specifically you, as soon as your hand makes contact with the surface of this thing while you're holding that lantern, you feel the power begin to suck out of it, coursing up your arm, like through your chest, through your torso, down your other arm, and into this sphere in the center of the chamber. It is very much some Infinity Gauntlet bullshit. As like
I figured.
It's like magical energy like glows in your veins up your arm, and the sphere at the center of this chamber, the alloy that it is made of suddenly becomes like malleable, and you see it like ripples go across it, almost as if like invisible magnetic waves are like pulling at the surface. The entire chamber itself begins to glow around you, and you hear a very distant like rumble, and the ground begins to shake. And we, the viewer, if we zoom out of this chamber and fly up through the ground and up out of this subterranean place and up to a bird's eye view of Glasgow, we see that in the small cove on the western side of the island, from beneath the water, a singular needle-thin spire begins to rise up, up, up into the sky. And as it does, it begins to glow from these like channels of magic along its surface. The chamber that you are in begins to physically rotate, and as you feel the last of the energy drain out of that lantern, course through your body and exit into this piece of arcanotech, a single massive pulse of energy charges up and fires upward out of the chamber up into the spire that is extended above, and you guys feel yourselves pulled along with this pulse of energy drawn from this chamber, and you find that yourselves you become pure energy, and you feel yourselves blasted into space. And that is where we'll end the session.
We am debris.
All I can think of is that bit from Command and Conquer with Tim Curry.
Space! Very good. Okay, so hey, that's our session for tonight. Thank you to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle, and no thanks to Roast Beef's Sandwich Restaurant, who is ignoring our calls rudely for a sponsorship deal. But to
be fair, we are just standing outside and shouting into the sky.
Yeah.
And not, calling them on the phone.
But watching an entire crew Scooby-Doo out the door was very funny. I mean, that's not an admission. Don't worry about it.
That's a thing that may or may not have happened that has no context to anybody listening right now. But regardless, it is time for me to not look at the gifts chat in our Discord so that I can finish this stream. I got distracted by Tim Curry. Can you blame me? So that is our episode for tonight, and when we return next time, we will see where the Star Spire deposits our intrepid heroes. So I think
Straight to hell.
Straight to hell. So that's it. We done. We will see you, I believe, barring any crazy circumstances, next Tuesday, the 17th of October. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, be well. We love you, and good night.